Is my handwritten will, or maybe a will I downloaded off the internet or maybe copied from a friend, is that will valid? Well, let's talk about it. Let's start with a handwritten will. Yes, the laws of the state of Oklahoma recognize a handwritten will. However, you must comply with some requirements in order for your handwritten will, or a holographic will it's called, to be valid. But let's say you've done your research and your holographic will, your handwritten will complies with the law and is valid. There are still ways you can create more trouble than what you saved by getting it done yourself. For example, a professionally done will by an estate planning attorney will contain some clauses that you may not be aware to include in your will. For example, no bond will be required for the personal representative, or the ability for the personal representative to sell real property without additional court involvement. Also, if you are trying to disinherit someone, it has to be done properly. Otherwise, your will, your desired distribution can fail. Now let's talk about a will you may have downloaded off the internet, or you found a form at the library, or maybe you copied one from your friend. The thing about these wills is execution. It has to be done properly, and I'm talking about witnesses, notaries, and so on. If a will is not done properly, if it does not conform with the laws, with the requirements as per the statutes, the will be invalid. Now, we mentioned valid and invalid wills. Who determines if a will is valid or invalid? A court of law, usually through a probate process. It is a common misconception that if you have a will, your family is all set, you don't have to worry about probate. That is wrong, and we talked about why. Because someone has to determine if their will was done correctly or not, and that person is a judge, like I said, through the probate process. What usually triggers probate, the need for a will, is if you have real property solely in your name. Sometimes financial accounts without listed beneficiaries may trigger the need of probate, sometimes creditors, and a few other circumstances. Now let's talk about the unintended consequences of an invalid will. If the will is found invalid, the laws of the state of Oklahoma will determine who gets what. If the distribution in your will is different than what the law says, you can see how that can create serious conflict. I'm sure you may have heard stories where people fight in court to determine that the will is invalid so they can inherit through the law. It can be very expensive. It can completely ruin relationships. Don't put your family through that. In conclusion, is your handwritten will or a form will you got from somewhere valid? As we talked about, it depends. It is very important to understand that even if your will is valid, one, it'll have to go through the probate process if you own real property and other circumstances. And two, it may not do what you want it to do. If it's not done properly, if it does not include the right clauses or specify in detail what the distribution should be and how it works, it may not work, and it may cause more issues, more expenses than it's worth. I strongly encourage you to see a professional, to see an estate planning attorney to help you with creating a will, or maybe talk about your estate's administration. We offer free 30-minute consultations. Take advantage of those. Come see us. We would love to answer your questions and help you with some of your financial assets, or explain how each document included in an estate plan works. Thank you for watching.